Hey, am I on? Am I on? Hey, everybody. I made it. I'm at, let's see, I'm at the other side. I'm on the left side of the pond this week by the, hear the water? Hope I can make it through the whole report without having to run home and use the bathroom. Are you kidding me? Well, we have a video bomber here. We have a goose who was there when I started filming. Decided to crash the party. So anyway, Leslie Plazz, that's me, also known as Zazoo Plazz. Mars is in Leo. Leo, okay. Little astrological stuff today. You know, for those of you, just a fair warning, if you're not into all that woo-woo stuff, oh boy, we've got some action. Wow. Yeah, so we've got a grand fixed cross going on. If you're even a little interested in astrology, this is the time to find out more about it. This isn't the place, though. This is the place if you're missing all your comedy shows because the comedy writers are on strike. But Zazoo is still cranking them out. It's great because, you know, we pull from the same pool. So, because they're not writing anything, all of it's coming to me. Amen. I mean, I usually have plenty of access to funny ideas, but I mean, it's flooding. It's flooding through me. I can be in the most serious situation. It's dangerous because I start laughing at the most inappropriate moments. It's just because I get these downloads and it's hilarious, you know? And so I've gotten rid of everything in my life that doesn't pertain to nurturing this comedic instinct in my writing. And I'm channeling it into the world so that, you know, this will be a world that I will most enjoy being in. See, that's how it works. So anyway, Zazoo Plazz, May 21st, 2023, and it's a great year. It is a great year. We're smack dab in the middle of this lovely cocktail. We got. Okay, for those of you, just bear with me. I mean, this is great. So we got Pluto, hopscotching back and forth, mostly in Aquarius back to Capricorn, but now it's in Aquarius. And then, so that's my chart, that's down here in my 5th house of creativity. And then Mars is in Leo, which is in my 11th house of, Leo is performance, right? And it's in my 11th house of like groups of people, friends and dreams and stuff. All right, so you got that going on. And then we got Jupiter going into Taurus over here, across from my sun, which is in Scorpio. And the nodes of the moon are in the, Taurus and Scorpio. So, we've got Leo, we've got Earth, which is Taurus. And then, the sun's going into Gemini, which is an air sign. So we've got Earth, lots of, Earth and Taurus. And we've got wind, air, and you see where this is going? Aquarius and Gemini are air signs, that's wind, and fire, which is Leo. And then I said, okay, perfect. I took a look at that. Okay, it's Ascension Sunday. So that's when Jesus, ascended to heaven, as opposed to, his resurrection. This is, you have the whole, everything. Okay, I'm out of here. In other words, so the apostles are watching him, they're going up into the clouds, we can imagine, right? These are metaphors, right? My whole life, I'm sitting there in church, I'm thinking about Jesus, like there's a play going on, and Jesus is hooked up to some, he's got he's got ropes on him and they're hoisting him up, right? That's the way it seemed to me, but this big cloud comes along, And the apostles go, oh, what the heck? And then these two angels come along and say, why are you looking up there? He's like, Jesus, he's still with you, right? So, in other words, they went up to the mountain. Jesus said, go up to the mountain. So it said they worshiped him, but they doubted, right? They're like, I'm not sure if I'm all on board with this thing, right? It's like, all right. So now, if there is a time, it's like, okay, are you with us? Are you not? What side of the fence are you on? Because you can't keep sitting on the fence. All right. So Jesus is saying, okay. He's saying, I'll be with you to the end of the age, right? So he's saying the power, okay? The power is going to be in your faith, right? If you have faith, then you don't have to worry, right? It's if you're lacking, right? That's when you get pulled back down into the forces of the earth, which are heavy and dense, and they were only meant to sort of, like I don't know, I think about kind of a metaphor is like if you have a magnet or something, like we were kids, right? Or even like those shower curtains, right? You get the shower curtain. I gotta get a new shower curtain, right? It's got a little magnet at the bottom of it, right? To hold it down. So when you're in the shower, the thing doesn't blow around, right? That would be annoying, right? Yeah. So that's what the forces of matter were designed, so that, the shower curtain can stay in its place and not go flying around, right? So we're here, and we're like, boy, you're noisy today, all right? So, in other words, we can't go around, thinking that we, you gotta figure this out. No, right? I've got Kermit backing me up today. All right, lest I get too so I'm thinking, okay, so the song of the week, and I've got lots of stories. I wanted to get the scripture, my woo-woo stuff out of the way, the Grand Cross, because the cross. Okay, so Jesus is saying, don't focus on the death part, right? He's like, that was just, it's all part of the show, right? But some people are still focused on things that happened a long time ago, right? How about us in our lives? We all have crosses to bear, don't we? We all have the cross. All of us have different crosses, So you can look at that as something heavy that you got to carry around, right? But that's not the way to look at it. You look at it as something that's going to help you to rise to the occasion of life. So when I was a kid, okay, Earth, Wind, and Fire song, I was, about 9 or 10, mid-70s. And that's when they were so hot. I mean, they were everywhere. And the thing with Earth, Wind, and Fire, I said, God ascends his throne with trumpets, right? With the trumpet blasts, da-da-da, goes to heaven, da-da-da. I said, what's horns? What's some music that had a lot of horns in it? And it was Earth, Wind, and Fire, right? So this song, Shining Star, came out when I was 9 years old, January 21st, 1975. It was got to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and the Hot Soul chart. And I mean, as a kid, I loved watching all those dance shows, like Soul Train and stuff. And I'd get up and I'd be dancing. And I was thinking how great those songs were, Earth, Wind, and Fire. talk about a horn section. When my kids, so that song was, it's like funk and disco. Shining star, shining bright to see, you know, what your life can truly be. So Maurice White, okay, I'll get this out first. He was the, I think he passed, but Maurice White was like the main lead singer, wrote a lot of the songs for Earth, Wind and Fire, I guess. They were doing their album That's the Way of the World, 1975. They were at the Caribou Ranch. So he's out, Maurice. That was my uncle's name, Maurice, Mo. He's out walking at night, looking just to take a break, probably, stretching his legs, and he's looking up at the sky. And all of a sudden, he thinks, oh, shining star, right? And then the words started coming. I was reading about, Earth, Wind, and Fire and how much they influenced, like, Prince. A lot of the Prince sort of, I guess, sound, it kind of, he had to be inspired. We're all inspired by somebody, right? And Earth, Wind, and Fire was a big inspiration for Prince, which I think is so cool. And what inspired Maurice White, Morris, was the stars. I mean, for ages and eons, since the beginning of time, that's what they're there for. So I have people that I run into, people that I happen to meet for one reason or another who say things to me like, you and your stars. All right, that got into my collar because, when I come across people who say, you and your astrology, that doesn't mean you have free will, you don't have to. If God didn't want us to have a map, he wouldn't have put it in the sky. It's the way I look at it. And, and it's the only thing, oh, there's my moth friend. It's my moth. And I think that the people who are most resistant to things like astrology, they may have a hard time with anything that kind of requires relinquishing a little bit of your control, a little bit of your need to be in frickin' control of the whole universe. It requires a little bit of faith, especially when you start getting into your asteroids. You start seeing what you're made of. If you are out criticizing somebody else who's trying to, spiritually know more about themselves to be a better person in the world, you're living in glass houses. You can't criticize people out there who are, my way is different from yours. I respect that. But, and this is what I need to learn. So that no matter what comes at me, I'm going to keep showing up and doing what I do. I have rituals. It could be the freaking end of the world, and I'll still get up and go through my rituals because that's how I roll. If somebody tells me that I can't follow my ritual, you better get the heck out of my way because I'm going to run over you on the way to get my tea in the morning. And do my funny posting on Facebook. Anyway, it's loud out here tonight. Anyway, so that's my rant, and it's over. This is comedy, okay? It is. Anyway, so, I just throw that out there. So, talk about horns, okay? I was raised in a house with a dad who, back in when he was young, he started, playing the saxophone. His whole life, my whole family is musical on my dad's side, not on my mom's side, my dad's side. My grandfather used to play the violin in the Providence Orchestra. I have a cousin who plays the French horn. She's very talented. She plays in the Seattle Orchestra, I think. And she plays the banjo and, she does Scottish dancing. She's amazing. Shout out to her. So, and then her mother, I think, used to play beautiful piano. My other aunt played organ. I think she played piano, and she's very dramatic. My dad was a great influence on me musically. When I was growing up, they bought an organ because that was the thing back then. Everybody had to have an organ. So we got one of those little tiny spinet ones, and my mom used to, carefully play it. And then, once I started taking lessons, they got the big Hammond organ. Well, every picture of every holiday, you've got the Christmas tree and you got the organ in the background, and our dining room table was in the same room as the organ, which became the music room. So, on holidays, I'd play the organ, Christmas carols, my dad would be playing the sax, and then, I took up the banjo after that. And it's all in my book, Zazoo Plazz. I have the whole thing about it. I'm not going to talk about that today. But when my boys were growing up in school, my oldest son, once you get past second grade, you have to choose an instrument, toward the end. And he picked the trombone because he's got really long arms like Mom. I have really long arms. And his favorite animal was the gorilla. So he had these he had a big head and these long arms. I said, oh, I'll play the trombone. And he was really good at it, And then, so he played that all through middle school, and they played Earth, Wind, and Fire. They played us that song, September. I remember going to see him in middle school, and he was really good at the trombone. But then there was this, they made them use this in high school. He went through 2 years of high school with the music, and then, he didn't love it enough. They made the kids use this thing called smart music, which was basically, sort of a music teacher bot, which they had no business. I mean, it was okay, but it stifled the kids creatively. He'd get discouraged, if he'd be playing and all of a sudden the stupid smart music would be like, do it again. They'd show these red notes where you missed, And I thought if they had that thing when I was taking, I would have taken that thing and thrown it the heck out the window. But I get it. And this is the same thing, the stifling of the creativity. The child wants to play the music. The music is flooding through his, he wants to play the music. And the stupid bot is saying, no, you missed that note. And then, so of course it makes the music teacher's life easier, or does it? If at some point I think they got rid of it. Because my second son came through and he picked this is another story. But I'll just summarize. All these will be in a book because I can't go into this in just a short time. But he decided he wanted to play the trumpet. Well, he plays every single instrument that, he picks up an instrument, he didn't let the smart music get to him. This kid, he just kind of ignored it. And he kept going, just, by ear. He plays by ear. So, he picked up the trumpet. So my father could see that he was really good, but the thing was, he had braces. The kid had braces when he was younger, like 9 or 10, and then they said, oh, we'll take them off, because he had both of them had bad overbites. The older one just had them once, for, when he was like 12 to 15 or something like that. The younger one got him first one set, then they had to take him off, let his teeth grow in a little, the molars or whatever, and then he got the braces back on when he was, a little bit older. So, but he was a little guy, even still, early middle school, late elementary, 5th grade, and he's trying to play the trumpet, and you have to like put your mouth around the trumpet, right, and blow through it. And he had this teacher. My parents said, "Oh, we're gonna send Zachary. We're gonna pay for this guy, this fancy trumpet guy, He's a big deal, just like my dad did for me with the banjo man. That's in the book. But so the kid goes, and the guy's, amazing, like the best trumpet player, in the world. And, my dad, it's the same thing he did to me with the banjo. You better appreciate, you're sending these lessons. You better. So the kid goes, and he's so frustrated because he can't make the sounds with the braces, and then, so he's taking these lessons. So finally, he did learn a bit, but we had to buy these big expensive books, and the kid was just like, I just want to play, Mom. I just want to play, and the more we got, these will be in story form in my book. But what I want to say is that the more rules and regulations and constrictions and you got to play the book, the less the kid wanted to play it in his heart. So his music teacher in middle school switched him to the tuba. He's like, well, we need a tuba player, and we got a lot of trumpet players, but we do need a tuba player. So that kid, and he is a strong kid. He took that tuba and he was the best. He really got into the tuba, and he won an award. He won an award that was, it was given in honor of a teacher at his school who had passed away, who was in this rock band that, the brothers grew up. One of them was in my husband's class up in where my husband grew up, northern Connecticut. They had this, they still do. They have this great rock band with a lot of horns in it. And, my kid got an award for playing the tuba, just in honor of this teacher who was an amazing, wonderful teacher, brought so much, so much to the music community in our town here, our area of Connecticut, really. Maybe that's him. Tom was his name. Yeah. And the band was called the Savage Brothers Band. So Tom Savage was the teacher. My son didn't have him because, he was there when my older son was there. But then in the meantime, he got sick, he passed away, and then my son had another teacher. But it made a difference in his musical career. And then he got into one thing after another. He got into the guitar, and then he got into the bass, and he picked up my banjo, and every instrument. But it was an organic process. It wasn't, we've got everything, he didn't let it crush his spirit, and maybe my older son just didn't care. He started taking the keyboard a little bit. That's more to his liking because he's a computer guy. But I guess the thing that really burns me is when creativity isn't allowed to express it. It's got to be allowed to grow, like this wild tree and the wild brook and the, So anyway, I loved Earth, Wind, and Fire. Shining Star. And it reminds me of that Disney, when you wish upon a star. But this is more like, kind of funky and kind of, not so mushy. Some of the Disney stuff as a kid, I was like, Tinkerbell and fluffy stuff was not my thing. I wasn't a, fluffy pink unicorn kind of girl. I was into, Earth, Wind, and Fire. So I'm coming out here and I said, okay, so we got Earth, Wind, and Fire, but water is getting left out. And just as I said that, I realized as I headed out here, I always hit the bathroom. So I'm going and I'm like, oh, great. And then, we had another little plumbing situation. I had to run upstairs and get plumbing equipment. I won't go into detail, but somebody did something and, so the water gods were not happy because I overlooked Scorpio. So I decided, so I fixed that little situation because I'm a little, I guess I'm a little particular about things, superstitious, I don't know, obsessive compulsive, definitely, where I don't want to, it's a feng shui thing. I didn't want to leave the house with the water thing unresolved, because then it would follow me out here and weird things would happen and it wouldn't be good. So here we have our water and our earth, wind, and fire. And okay, so we talked about the trumpet guy. You know, that was interesting. I've got so many stories, so many stories. I'm just, you know, most days I'm just bursting with ideas. I'm gonna go make some clam chowder. Oh, yeah. So what a week it's been. So I got one little story about my husband. In a minute or so, he's living at his mother's house, clearing things up, dealing with things. But he said, oh, he was at the store. He bought this printer, this great new printer, you know, and he's comparing all the prices, and he puts it in my office, my dining room office. And the thing had like a big, you know, like an eye, like a big, you know, I like to keep it simple. And it had like a glowing screen. It looked like a big eye. And it was distracting me. So I said, well, you gotta, you know, here he goes and gets this fancy, expensive printer. And I said, no, just put it down in the basement, because it was, you know, clogging my vibe. So then while he was out, he said, oh, I got a coupon. I'm going to get a Redbox DVD. That movie about the girl with the creepy doll who's like, you know, comes alive, who's like a robot. And so he's going to watch that, gets all set. And then he finds out, he calls me down, he's like, I can't get the DVD to work. So, you know, our setup was like, we haven't watched DVDs in so long, it was outdated. So he took an hour to try to figure out how to, you know, to figure out the keyboard to get an underscore so that he could put the password in so he could watch his movie about the creepy robot doll. I said, I'm not lending my energy to this. So, you know, so I'm learning how to give up things and how to, you know, to preserve my energy. I see where something is going to make me really upset and really lose, you know, lose it, and I don't go there. I can see it. It's got bright lights. It's like, here is a way to waste an hour of your life and spend all day tomorrow regretting it. Don't go there. It used to just be a little tug. And now it's like, it's a marquee with big lights. Don't go here. Go here. Go out to the brook. Go out to the stars. The stars. Embrace the stars. The stars have things to teach us. So, I mean, you know, and don't think about free will in terms of, I can do whatever I want. No, it's not like that. It's to be free to do what you must do. That's how I look at it. This is Earth school. This isn't Earth, you know, paradise cruise, maybe for some of you. But that hasn't been the case for me and a lot of my Gen X community. So anyway, to be free to do what you must do is when life starts getting easier. Because when you're doing what your soul says you must do, then life just starts getting, you start getting in the flow. Right? Yeah. So that's all I got for this week. Well, I mean, that's not all I got, but that's all the time I have here. So I'm going to go and make some clam chowder because my son really likes it. I made some really bad pancakes. I mean, they tasted good, but they were all different sizes and they really weren't pretty. But, you know, the Brussels sprouts didn't bring my waffles and a couple other things, so I had to improvise. So, there's the plane. So, until next week, yeah, so go look up at the shining stars and remember that you are one. So, like, shine brightly for all to see. Till next week, Zazoo Plazz, signing out. See you later.